It's Paul's Picks. I'm David Schellenberg. Hello, Paul Carrier.
Hello, David Schellenberg.
And so we've got 3 red wines, and there's a theme today.
Yep, this is my nightstand at home. This is what it looks like.
Okay, the theme is it's bedtime.
It's bedtime. No, what we're going to do today is we're going to do kind of an introduction for people that are sort of experimenting with red wines.
Okay.
So we're going to go with lighter style,
Yeah?
fruitier style
Right.
wines that are more approachable.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, and it's funny when you talk about sort of fruity, because there is fruity, which are complete fruit bombs, and I don't know if necessarily this is that kind of crazy is what it could be.
No, I mean they're still wines. So like you're not drinking Kool-Aid here.
Yeah,
No
because
one's going to come crashing through the window here. I mean, it's just they're lighter styles and they're more approachable.
Okay.
Okay, so for people, again, because, I mean, these are sort of introductory wines for people. So people that are, like I said, just starting to get into the red wine thing.
Right.
Because the heavier styles are not the ones you want to start with usually.
No.
Because they're too distinctive.
right, and the price point on all these wines we got today is pretty reasonable.
Pretty much under 20 right
Yeah, yeah.
across the board.
Okay, what's the first one?
All right, so the first one is the Castelvetro Lambrusco.
Okay,
All that to say.
yeah, there's words I've never heard before, but all right.
Okay, so Lambrusco is a grape variety.
Okay, Lambrusco. So grape varieties are Chardonnays,
Yeah.
Cabernet. Yeah, so Lambrusco. I've never heard of that type of grape.
It's what they call a working horse grape.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a grape that produces a lot of, I'm going to use the word plunky, but that doesn't mean that they're lower quality, all right? So
Right. Plunky's a bad thing.
Plunkies can be a bad thing, but I'm going to tell people right now, this is a style of wine that's really in vogue. And
Oh,
it's
yeah?
getting more and more and more popular for the simple reason why, and let's try it
Yeah. Yes. This is why stop talking and start tasting.
and start drinking. So on the nose, you can almost smell, and I think we talked about this, almost the style like a sangria,
Yeah.
that style of wine.
So sweet with a touch of fruit and effervescence in this as well.
So a lot of sort of Bing cherry and strawberry to
Yep.
it, but it's lightly sparkling.
Yeah.
It's definitely off dry. There's a definite sweetness to this wine. There's no doubt about that.
But not Kool-Aid sweet, but
Not
sweet.
Kool-Aid
Yeah.
sweet, but still sweet, and it's nice and clean and finishes really well on the palate.
Right.
Now, why this style of wine is becoming more and more popular? 2 main reasons.
Okay.
One, price point,
How much is this?
$10.95 a bottle. So
That's aggressive.
yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And number 2, charcuterie boards. It's all the rage. You hear people talking about that all the time. They're serving them at dinner parties. They're having them when they're out at restaurants,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. This style
Right?
is fantastic
Yeah.
with a charcuterie board because a lot of times you have cured meats,
Yep.
saltier cheeses, that type of thing, variety of breads,
Yep.
olives. This will work right across the board.
Yeah, because I was thinking, we talk about the popular charcuterie, or whatever the word is.
Yeah.
The, I think a lot of us have grown up just sort of eating meats and cheeses,
Yeah.
but now it's cool.
Yeah.
So it went from being something that, mom dumped on you to, I'm going to have some fancy friends over and we're going to have fancy ones. And it adds the extra elements of some nuts and some jams and some stuff. So I can see how finding a wine that pairs with it is complicated because there's sweet stuff in there and there's salty stuff and it's what works with it all.
Yeah, it's a fancier thing. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, my charcuterie board at school was those little plastic
school.
containers that you pull and you have 2 pieces of cheese, a piece of bologna.
Yeah.
That was my charcuterie board. Now it's evolved.
Yes, and it's not even that much different. It's still the basic fundamentals of sort of
Only costs you 10 times more, right?
Yeah. Okay. So there's an effervescence to this. There's a bubble to this. Where is this bubble coming from?
So the bubble is coming from how they produce it. It's carbonic maceration, which is a technique that they use to sort of get the bubble, the fizziness into the wine.
Yeah.
These styles can be found from bone dry all the way to sweet. The
Okay.
most popular style is the style that we're trying right now.
Yeah.
The sort of mid sweet style. That's the one that people went to, readily available, and happens to be one of the products that actually started with the LCBO way back in the day. So it's been around for a long, long time.
So the key is the grape is Lambrusco.
Yeah.
And now is this a specific grape to a specific part of the world, to a specific company, or can you go to the Lambrusco section of the liquor store and none of us ever
No.
noticed it was there?
The main Lambrusco, the main areas for it is in centralized Italy.
Okay.
So it's essentially Italy is where its homeland is, but you can find it grown all over the world.
Yeah.
In fact, we grow a lot of it right here in Ontario.
Oh, yeah?
It's one of the grapes that was responsible for making those wines in the 70s, like Baby Duck, Baby Bear, all that stuff.
Oh, great.
Yeah, well, they're great.
And the price point is there, yeah, and the sort of bubbliness is there. I get it, why it's popular.
Turkey dinner's coming up for Christmas. There you go.
Ah, one
Make
of those.
everybody happy.
One of those, yes, including the pocketbook, because
Yeah.
this is really cheap for what this is.
Absolutely.
All right, should we talk to camera 3 and see what camera 3 thinks of Lambrusco? This is the part where we always kind of wonder how exactly this is going to go. So, camera 3, do you want to find your mug, and we'll see our random man on the street.
Now, this is the professional tasting product.
Wine, I'm sure, tastes better in a
Yeah.
grumpy cat no mug.
There we go.
And before we give camera 3 a chance to talk, I mean, I don't know if I have specific tasting notes on this. This is one of these red wines that tastes like red wine.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a very global term, but often used, believe it or not, in tasting notes all over the place. It's grapey. Is what it's used, and I'm not making that up.
Right.
It's actually grapey, but I like to refer to it more as sort of a jammy, grapey, fruity style wine.
Yeah, what do you think?
It tastes kind of bubbly, like it's almost like a red wine champagne or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is weird how there's some bubbles in it. So, but would you have this with meats and cheeses?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, thumbs up from camera 3. That's all that really matters is
thumbs up
camera
from
3.
camera 3.
Camera 3 likes it. All right, so we'll try another red wine. We're working through some sort of fruity red wines. I don't know if camera 3 will like this one because I pre-tasted this one. This is not sort of my style. But what is this?
So what we're drinking here is a Pisse Dru, which is the name of the wine.
Yeah.
And the style of wine, its region is a Beaujolais.
Okay.
Okay. Now the Beaujolais wine, the red, is actually made with a grape called Gamay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we're drinking here. It's known again to be very light, very fruity, great acidity. Oh, I got a shoulder.
It's not. But that's fine. I mean, not everybody likes everything.
When I first started trying red wines, this was one of the wines that was recommended to me to get my palate used to it because there is very little tannin. So tannin is that phenol compound that gives you that very drying sensation on your palate.
Right.
Very astringent almost.
Yep.
This is actually much higher in acidity and very low in tannin. Now, for me, and only because I've drank this wine many, many times, I get a lot of, I call this my carnival wine. So I get a lot of
Carnival?
Carnival wine. So candy apple, candy floss, that type of thing. To me, I smell and I taste anytime I do a Beaujolais.
Yeah.
I find this great wine for starters with soft cheeses, for example. It's fantastic. Definitely should be served chilled.
Right.
And
So
is one
chilled, not room temperature.
No, chill, like
Out of the fridge.
right out of the fridge.
Really, for our red wine.
Now, if you're looking,
You know, a lot of people are very scared when you say that.
I know. I would recommend too that this style of wine, again, if you're going somewhere and you're not 100% sure what they're serving, or they're serving a multitude of different dishes, a Beaujolais is a great wine to bring, because whether you're a heavyweight red wine drinker or light, this will fit the bill.
Right.
Right.
And it's interesting, after I had the first, second, third, fourth sip, it got sweeter
Yes.
as I went. So maybe coming off of this Lambrusco into the Beaujolais, the first sip maybe wasn't accurate for what it was supposed to be.
Beaujolais, again, just keep in mind, again, if you're sort of a entry-level wine drinker, this is a style that you should be drinking, and should be in your portfolio to start with.
Should be drinking.
Should be drinking, yeah. Now, another
If you
thing-
want to get good at drinking.
If you want, yeah, if you want to.
That's what your advice is.
Another thing, though, to keep in mind with both the first two wines that we tried,
Right?
they're not for storage.
Oh, okay.
So don't think you're gonna buy a Beaujolais or the Castelvetro that we tried.
Yeah.
And you're gonna keep that and it's gonna get better in 5, 10, 15 years. This, basically, as soon as you get out of the car,
Yeah.
pop it and start drinking it.
I like you said as soon as you get out of the car.
Yeah, out of the car.
A key bit of.
While you're in the car.
Yeah,
As soon as
no.
you get out of the car.
No.
That's when it should be drunk.
Right. All right, camera 3. It's time to get camera 3's thoughts on this. And I will point out that it kind of as I've been sipping, when you talked about a carnival sort of taste to it, there is like a red licorice,
Yeah.
Twizzler flavor there. It's just kind of buried in some other stuff.
Well, again, and don't forget, we're coming off the sparkler that was sweet. So
Right.
your palate's readjusting to something that's actually now dry.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was going to say. It's a lot more dry.
it's a lot drier, right?
Yeah. Do you?
good.
But you still like camera 3 likes everything. It's just it's just the way this goes. But what do you taste on it?
I'm not good at.
No.
My
Do you?
palate's not.
It's kind of
there yet.
lighter style though, right? Like as far as the wine goes, it's kind
Yeah,
of
it's
a
lighter.
lighter
Right.
style, easy drinking.
Yeah.
And it doesn't last very, very long, but it's just pleasant and, one of those wines you walk around at a party
Yeah.
and you're conversing with people and you're not thinking.
Yep.
You don't want to be thinking too much about the wine. Beaujolais is definitely the way to go.
Sure. But I could see before we let camera 3 go back to work. But you can tell what this is not. Like it's not the strawberry cherry sort of wine, right? And it's also not kind of the chocolatey wines. There's something else in there, eh?
Yeah, like I said, for me, it's a lot of like the candy floss, a lot of candy apple, that type of thing. And I find too, one of my tricks when I was first starting to learn about wines, a professor told me, go into a candy store and get different candies like licorices and that kind of stuff. And it sounds crazy,
Yeah.
but when you try it in that pure form, later on when you're trying your wines, you're like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that kind of taste. And this to me,
Yeah.
for those people out there that like Swedish berries,
Yeah.
that's the way to
Swedish
go.
berries.
Berries,
Okay.
yeah.
You got me on that one. Yes, because there's an IKEA tart berry flavor to this, that including the pallets that you're unpacking with that bit of cardboard in it.
Yeah, it took me 4 hours just to put this glass together. Half the pieces were missing.
Okay, then we have a big finish here. What's the last one?
So this one is staying on the fruity theme.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's going to be the fullest of the wines that we've tried so far.
Okay.
It's one of my personal favorite styles of wines. It's a Zinfandel.
Yeah.
The name of the Zinfandel is Carnivore, so that's kind of easy to remember. And it does go really well with meats, by the way.
Right.
Kinds of meats. $17.95. So that's reasonable. By the way, the Beaujolais was $16.95.
You okay?
Okay, so with this one here, what's funny, I find what you're smelling and what you're tasting are two different things, and that's not abnormal for wines.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're smelling this wine, you're gonna get a lot of earthiness,
Yeah.
a lot of black licorice on the nose.
It has, because it was been sitting in the glass for a while everybody was getting things set up. Some of the earlier earthiness is gone. This has gotten sweeter since it sat here. Or maybe I've gotten sweeter.
Is that possible, Dave? Really?
After a couple of half glasses of wine, yes, it's entirely possible.
So Zinfandel, traditionally, and this is one of those wines, especially on the palate, it's what they refer to as a very jammy wine.
Okay.
Pure jam, like raspberry jam, strawberry jam. I get sort of strawberry rhubarb pie on something like this.
Strawberry rhubarb pie.
Yeah, and a little bit of vanilla, so that's the
Yeah.
creaminess that's in there
Yeah.
as well. Red licorice, I've got that kind of floating around as well. Now, you'll notice with this wine too, very low in tannin, so again, that it doesn't have that pulling, drying
No,
astringency.
none of them.
But it does have a lot of acidity to it. So this red, for people that like red wines with white meat,
Yeah.
Okay.
Bro,
Zinfandel's the way to go.
way to go.
I've been recommending this style of wine for years for a traditional turkey dinner, with the traditional stuffing, etc.
Yeah.
And tortillas, meat pies, all that kind of stuff. And to this point, I've yet to be proven wrong. Everybody has always come back and said, wow.
That works.
That worked so well. And the only thing, though, I'm going to give you a little warning, because they don't put it on the bottle, is that Zinfandels are notorious for being very high in sugar, even though you can buy them dry. So when a wine is high in sugar, it automatically means it's going to be high in alcohol.
Okay.
So it's not uncommon for Zinfandels to be between 14.5 and 15.7, 15.8% alcohol.
Oh my,
So
okay.
it's up there. Great for when you get the family together, because then you can kind of, everybody seems normal after a couple of glasses of Zinfandel.
Well, and I thought your warning was going to be the next morning. After a couple of Zinfandels, anything that's high in sugar, somehow or other, Sunday morning seems worse.
I think any of these three,
Yeah.
moderate it. Or make sure you're off the next.
Get some water. Get some water into
A lot of aspirin, yeah.
Yeah. All right, camera 3. It's time to ask camera 3 what he thinks of this. And one of the words that I thought you missed was chocolate. Like, I get chocolate in this.
Let me try it again.
It's almost I'm still trying to struggle with what it is, but it's like, remember those little chocolate covered cherries? It's kind of what I am thinking.
Lownies.
Lownies. That's what it was. Like a chocolate covered cherry is what I find.
I'm getting, you know what I'm getting? Strawberry quick. Bet you didn't see that one coming.
No, I didn't see that one come. Camera 3, what do you think?
It's sweeter, and I get the cherry taste.
Cherry?
Fuller, you find in the other two?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
You think so? Yep, that's a solid. See, and that is entirely an acceptable answer, because we've been sitting around drinking for a long time.
Yeah.
Camera 3 will get better at drinking one day, we hope.
Yeah.
Strawberry quick. Like and that would explain the sort of the milky feel in all this as well.
This is, all kidding aside though, for food pairings, this style of wine is so versatile.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had it with everything from steaks with a port sauce to rack of lamb. I've had it with different curry dishes.
Right.
And again, with the holidays coming up, all three of these wines, I know a lot of people around the holidays, Christmas and or New Year's, tend to go with Chinese food. Seems to be a big thing here.
Right.
This is a very big thing. Any of these three wines, fantastic.
I would think the Lambrusco with
Lambrusco
Chinese
would be
food.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like half the price of the last
Cow
one.
chicken,
Yeah.
that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be really good. Paul Carrier, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm David Schellenberg. This has been Paul's Picks.